Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Typhoon Shanshan makes a landfall in Japan's main southern island of Kyushu. It is the most powerful storm this year and one of the strongest at landfall since 1960. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks to Gujarat CM again after heavy downpour in western state causes flood-like situation. Rescue operations underway in full swing. India's nuclear submarine program reaches a significant milestone. INS Arighat to be commissioned today by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. And 3 terrorists neutralized in a joint operation in North India's Kupwara district. Amidst a summer marked by intense heat worldwide, the monsoon showers have provided a much-needed respite. However, the rainfall has been more than expected, leading to flood-like situation in many parts. We take a quick look at the updates from some of the most affected parts. In southwest Japan, Typhoon Shanshan made a landfall on Thursday. More than 5.2 million people have been issued evacuation notice as strong winds and heavy rains lashed the area. 3 people have been killed and several injured in one of the strongest storms ever to hit the region. Power supply was knocked out in Japan's main southern island of Kyushu for over 250,000 households. Major firms like Toyota closed their factories and airlines and rail operators have cancelled some services for coming days. The southwestern region of Japan is on high alert as the meteorological agency has issued an emergency warning saying the typhoon could bring flooding, landslides and wind strong enough to knock down some houses. And DD India's Chris Gilbert is joining us from Tokyo to give us more details on this. Hi Chris. With authorities warning that the storm could be one of the strongest ever to hit the region and evacuation orders being issued by the local governments, what is the update you're getting for us from there?
Well, it certainly hit into southwest Japan, the main island of Kyushu there, with a real thud when it did so about 9 hours ago. Since then, the emergency warnings have been downgraded to warnings. The winds have died down a little bit because it's now over land, not over sea, over those warm ocean temperatures which were intensifying it. But that didn't really make things any better for the people of Kagoshima or Miyazaki and elsewhere in Kyushu, which experienced the brunt of the storm throughout Thursday. Many places in Kyushu received more rain throughout the last day or so than they would in a typical August, the whole month of August. And for places like Oita Prefecture in the north of Kyushu, that means that about 25,000 people have been given forced evacuation notices. They absolutely have to evacuate because rivers there are at the point of bursting their banks. The winds did reach gusts of about 250 kilometers an hour. Those gusts have now reached a maximum of about 180 as the storm weakened somewhat, but the city that received the worst of that was Miyazaki on the east of Kyushu. That city saw about 160 reports of damage, 70% of that due to the high winds. Roofs ripped off houses, the sides of buildings ripped off, and for 22 people, they received injuries from glass and windows just shattering due to the higher winds. And so there remains to be seen from here the extent of the damage, but this extends throughout all of Japan. As you can see, it's raining here in Tokyo. It was very severe before. It's just died down a little bit. And that is not even part of the typhoon. That's the knock-on effects from the typhoon. And that is what contributed to the landslides, which also killed 3 people as well.
Okay, Chris, you just told us about the impact and damage the typhoon has caused Can you just tell us about how are the authorities managing the entire situation?
Well, once the typhoon hits, it's really too late. It's all about preparation. And the preparation begins before the typhoon exists in terms of infrastructure for storm drainage, in terms of stop banks, rivers. Of course, this is the same everywhere in the world. But Japan in particular had provided emergency evacuation notices saying that an evacuation order may be upcoming to 250,000 households. And then when the storm becomes more severe, that's when the evacuation orders, and there's a scale of how strong those orders are, kick into force. Once the typhoon hits, as I say, it's too late, and so the authorities are absolutely urging people that if they can't evacuate now, that they must find strong buildings to hunker down in, to stay away from windows, and high flood risk areas to go to the upper stories of any buildings they may be in. And that is really about it, apart from urging people to stay vigilant and to not go outside. Amongst the buildings that are closed, the businesses that are closed, are also convenience stores, which are the lifeline for many people in Japan, and supermarkets as well. And so it's really to keep staff safe, to keep everyone safe, to not go outside and wait till this is well and truly over.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. We'll keep taking updates from you since this is developing. And in a recent research by the World Weather Attribution, Typhoon Gaimi that swept across East Asia last month and left over 100 dead was made worse by climate change. Climate researchers said that warmer seas in Asia add extra fuel to the tropical storms. Scientists have also reported that wind speed were intense and rainfall was heavier as a result of rise in sea temperatures across the region. The increasing intensity of the recent tropical cyclones is due to rising global temperatures over the ocean. Amid climate change, flood prevention infrastructure and emergency response planning teams are required to take measures to overcome the adverse effects of rising temperature. The western state of Gujarat is experiencing a flood-like situation with heavy rainfall continues for past 3 days. The India Weather Department has issued a red alert for multiple districts in Gujarat, warning people of more downpours in the coming days. The National Disaster Response Force and State Disaster Response Force teams have been deployed to increase the pace of relief operation. Army, Air Force and Coast Guard are also deployed to assist the rescue and relief work. The situation is worst in Vadodara as the city grappled with flooding after the Vickremesinghes river, which flows through it, breached its banks and entered residential localities, inundating buildings, roads and vehicles. Meanwhile, a 10-foot-long crocodile was rescued by a team of rescuers in Vadodara after it came out of river and was seen strolling on a rain-swept road. The reptile was captured by a team of wildlife rescuers and then handed over to the forest department. With heavy rain across Gujarat, many rivers are flooded, leading to crocodiles and other reptiles coming onto the streets. All right, and DD India correspondent Parth Pandya is joining us from Gujarat to give us details about what is the current situation there. Hello, Parth. A very good afternoon to you. Can you tell us about the current situation in the state right now?
Yes, good afternoon, Siddharth. As we all know that the depression is passing from Gujarat today. The exact location of the depression will be the Saurashtra and the Kutch region. Today, Kutch and the Saurashtra will face very deteriorating rain. As you can see behind me, it is the central Gujarat region, that is the Ahmedabad. But still, we are facing that much great intensity of rain since this morning. Then imagine what is happening in the Saurashtra and the Kutch region, number one. Number two, as you mentioned, that Vadodara is facing a great sort of problems right now. As we know that 45 plus teams are there of NDRF, SDRF, Army working day and night to rescue the people from the drowned areas and the waterlogged areas. But still, they are not enough. As we know that this morning, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also had a phone call with Bhupendra Patel, the Chief Minister of Gujarat, regarding the situation of Vadodara. One important thing and a good news from the Vadodara is that the river level and the water level of Vickremesinghes is decreasing very slow and steadily. So that is a great news. Another big problem in Vadodara is that the crocodile problem. Vickremesinghes has been recognized as a crocodile hub. In last 48 hours, more than 75 crocodiles has been rescued by the team. So the problem with the administration and the unit is that to whom to rescue? Like people are there in the waterlogged areas, and there are the animals and the crocodiles. So they are working day and night. Number one. Number two, the local transportation, the railways, everything has been affected very badly. More than 900 routes has been cancelled of the state transport, the buses, and more than 100 trains has been cancelled of today only. So the transportation problems is there. Jamnagar and Devbhoomi Dwarka is receiving great sort of rain. Yesterday only there was more than 15 inches of rain in the Jamnagar and Dwarka region. It was Janmashtami on the Sunday, and since Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, this is the fourth day, consecutive day, rain is there. So the devotees which went to Dwarka to praise Lord Krishna, they are stuck right now. There is no mode of transportation to go out from the region. So yes, overall, in a nutshell, things are very deteriorating. And as you can see behind me, if this rain constantly comes day and day, upcoming 2 days also heavy as per the IMD. So things will be tough more. And the main problem, the last but not the least, I would add is the main problem is with the administration, that how to take care of the people. Firstly, to rescue them. Secondly, to give the medicines, and the risk of the disease outbreak after this flooding-like situation is very big. So there are plenty of questions on the administration, that how will they manage. Right now, the things are deteriorating day by day. Let's see what happens in the upcoming 2 days.
Par, you just told us about how the rescue operations are going on there from the NDRF and SDRF. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also had a telephonic conversation with the Chief Minister there. Can you just give us some update regarding that?
Yes, the main point of the phone call was what are the relief situations going on, what are the relief measures going on, what will the administration do after this flooding goes off. Like, let me give you an example of the Vadodara only. In Vadodara, more than 30,000 shops has been shut since Monday. So it is the fourth day. There is no business. There is problem regarding the currencies. There is problem regarding the common man who used to earn and use that in a particular day. They are in a big problem. So the main question is that what sort of relief measures are going to be happen by the local administration and the government of Gujarat. That review situation was overtaken by today by the Prime Minister of India.
All right. Thank you so much, Parth, for giving us those details. We'll keep taking you on air. We'll keep asking you some details since the situation is also developing. Now we tell you on the post-flood situation in the northeast Indian state of Tripura. An interministerial central team has started on-the-spot assessment of wreckage due to floods in 4 districts of Tripura. The team, led by Director of India's Central Water Commission, Mahesh Kumar, visited the Gomati district and inspected the affected areas. Ravaged paddy fields, damage done to homes, schools and embankments due to incessant rain triggered floods. Gomati district in Tripura has incurred losses amounting to $11 billion. The state government, in its preliminary estimates, has stated that the floods brought in massive loss of properties and infrastructure amounting to $150 billion. While Delhi NCR also received incessant rainfall accompanied by thunderstorms and lightning in early hours of Thursday. The rain resulted in severe waterlogging and traffic congestion in several parts of Delhi. The waterlogging in the area has slowed down the traffic. Commuters were seen wading through the flooded roads with vehicles struggling to cross the road. Additionally, the India Meteorological Department said August this year is also one of the wettest months for the national capital, with a record 291.6 millimeters of rainfall so far. Now, with the world trying to find out ways to deal the problem of climate change, Associated Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India organized ASSOCHAM Environment and Carbon Conference in New Delhi. The theme of the conference is fostering a collaborative ecosystem for achieving net zero by 2070. Minister of State for Environment, Forest and Climate, Kirti Vardhan Singh, participated in the inaugural session along with leaders from the domain of sustainable development. Minister Kirti Vardhan Singh listed the key interventions required at the industrial and individual level to achieve India's net zero target. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay the foundation stone of India's largest port project at Vadhavan near Dhanau in Palghar district. India makes first payment for hybrid power projects in North Sri Lanka. Major operation underway in India's Uttar Pradesh to deal with wolves attack.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will dedicate second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine INS Arighat to nation today at Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh. INS Arighat is an upgraded version of INS Arihant, India's first nuclear submarine. The development marks a significant advancement in India's naval capabilities, particularly concerning its strategic nuclear deterrence. India's second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine SSBN or Ship Submersible Ballistic Nuclear INS Arighat is scheduled to be commissioned on Thursday in South India's Visakhapatnam. According to defence sources, preparations for the commissioning ceremony are in their final stages. The 6,000-ton INS Arighat is set to embark on a long-range patrol of the Indo-Pacific. INS Arighat, armed with 750-kilometer range nuclear ballistic missiles K-15. India will now have two SSBNs, INS Arihant S2 and INS Arighat. INS Arighat, crucial part of country's nuclear triad and second strike capability. The Indian Navy has already approached the Prime Minister Narendra Modi government for approval of two nuclear-powered conventionally armed submarines. These submarines can remain underwater for months and their range limitation is only due to logistics, supplies and crew changes. INS Arighat is an upgraded version of INS Arihant, India's first SSBN. The development marks a significant advancement in India's naval capabilities, particularly concerning its strategic nuclear deterrence. Since we now know few things about INS Arighat and some of its features, to discuss it in detail, we have DG, National Maritime Foundation, Vice Admiral Pradip Chauhan joining us from Delhi. A very warm welcome to the broadcast, sir. A very good afternoon to you. INS Arighat certainly would be another jewel in India's already decorated defence arsenal. That we have to agree. And India's second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, it's an upgrade version of INS Arihant. That also we know. For our viewers, could you explain in layman language how is it different and how will it benefit India's stealth capabilities under the sea?
Well, first of all, the SSBN itself is a NATO acronym for subsurface ballistic nuclear, which means that it's a subsurface vehicle. It is powered by nuclear propulsion and it carries ballistic missiles. Now, what kind of warhead on a ballistic missile is to be carried is, of course, a matter of choice. But more traditionally, SSBNs carry nuclear-tipped weaponry by way of missiles. Now, there are a range of missiles, and the Indian missile family for the SSBN is varying between the K-15, which is the missile that you've already mentioned, which was being carried on the Arihant, and the K-4, which is a missile which will be shortly deployed, which has a much longer range than that of the K-15. The prefix K, of course, is from the in order to give honor to the missile man of India, the former Honorable President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Arihant differs from Arighat, or Arighat is a variant of Arihant in that it is larger, it is more capable, it can carry a larger number of larger missiles. It has a longer endurance, and between the Arihant and the Arighat, India will be moving towards full-fledged nuclear capability triad. So a triad means that because nuclear power missilery can be launched from the air or from the land or from the sea, having all three of these vectors generates a triad. So Arihant is the pioneer, Arighat is the next step, and hopefully in the future we will have some other follow-ons of this particular class of SSBN. The fact is that with Arighat in place now, we will be able to have a much larger coverage because we can deploy these submarines on either seaboard of India and then place under range or under threat larger parts of the countries that are occupied by adversarial or potentially adversarial political groupings. Of greater consequence, of course, is the fact that no sane country actually tries to address the nuclear capability of a country that has SSBNs, because while you can actually perhaps take out the land vector and with greater difficulty the air vector, particularly where the air vector is still on the land, but to know where exactly an SSBN is in the depths of the vast ocean expanse is almost an impossibility at the moment. And therefore, the triad is given its most reliable and most resilient and most enduring vector through the underwater vector that is represented in this case by Arighat and earlier by Arihant.
Okay. Sir, I need your reaction on this, on what you were saying just now. India already has land-based nuclear missiles, such as Agni series and air-launched nuclear capability. The SSBN, like you were mentioning, is likely to become now the most potent weapon in the nuclear triad. How do you analyze this?
Well, first of all, there's no question of likely to become. This is an emphatic statement of fact that where the three vulnerabilities of the three vectors are concerned, land-based nuclear capability is the most vulnerable because it operates from either fixed silos or from road mobile or rail mobile silos, both of which are capable of being addressed by an adversary. The air vector, as I said, is more difficult, but because the air vector has to start from the land, that part makes it less invulnerable or more vulnerable. On the other hand, the SSBN deploys for months and months at sea in areas that are completely unknown and completely unknowable. And therefore, the first idea that there is a launch is when the launch actually occurs. Consequently, SSBNs provide a nation with retaliatory or second strike capability. That means even if the nation was to have suffered the horrific damage which is going to be imposed by a nuclear strike, and that strike were to be able to debilitate or in any case deteriorate the amount of second strike capability, this will apply to both the other vectors in varying degree, but not apply to the sea-going vector at all.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in on the broadcast. Pleasure to have you on air. 3 terrorists have been neutralized in a joint operation in Kupwara district in the North Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Based on the intelligence inputs concerning infiltration bids in 2 separate areas of Kupwara, a joint operation was launched by the Indian Army and Jammu and Kashmir Police on the intervening night of Wednesday and Thursday in Machal and the Tangdar area of district in North India's Jammu and Kashmir. The suspicious movement was observed in bad weather and was engaged with effective firing by its own troops. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay the foundation stone of India's largest port project at Vadhavan near Dahanu in the Palghar district in western India's Maharashtra. More in this report.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay the foundation stone of India's largest port project at Vadhavan near Dahanu in Palghar district of Maharashtra. This port will boost economic activity and open new avenues for international trade. The project cost of Rs 76,220 crores includes development of major infrastructure, terminals and other commercial infrastructure. It will be developed in public-private partnership mode as an all-weather, greenfield, deep draft major port.
There are 2-3 aspects which are very unique to this project. The first and most important aspect is that there is a huge demand and supply gap will be in 2030 for the EXIM trade for the containers, and this gap will be fulfilled by this particular project.
The project has the potential to create around 12 lakh jobs. Local communities expect an uptick in employment and other opportunities for them once the work commences.
I feel this project is going to be a mega boost in the financial and infrastructure boost for the progress of the Palghar district, and it is going to be on the maps of major international front, and it is going to improve connectivity to the outside world.
Vadhavan port will be in proximity of hinterland clusters including the upcoming dedicated freight corridors and Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor. The port can serve as a gateway for the upcoming India-Middle East-Europe corridor and the international North-South transportation corridor.
This Vadhavan port is going to be a very game-changer project in recent times. Obviously, a lot of investments is involved in it, but at the same time, it's going to give job opportunity to millions.
Under Memorandum of Understanding signed between India and Sri Lanka in March 2022. The initiative, funded by $11 billion grant from India, aims to meet the energy needs of these islands by combining solar and wind power. And Indian Forest Department officials have made a unique breakthrough in Uttar Pradesh, nabbing 4 wolves that have killed 7 people and injured around 45 in past few weeks under Operation Bhediya or Operation Wolves. The team is using drone cameras, infrared cameras and thermal imaging cameras to catch in total 6 wolves. According to forest officials, the animals come out of their natural habitat during the rainy season due to waterlogging. And still to come on DD India News Hour. The Israeli military eliminated 5 Palestinian fighters who were hiding inside a mosque in Tulkarm in the West, occupied in the West Bank. Telegram CEO Pavel Durov banned from leaving France in criminal probe placed under formal investigation. An International Day Against Nuclear Tests being observed today, with UN chief urging world to speak with one voice to end this practice.
As our ecosystems change, we not only need to amplify our efforts to save them, but we also need to adapt our lives.
Today, everything grows here. At an altitude of 5,000 meters, we grow mushrooms, strawberries, watermelon and tomatoes. It's been made possible by the introduction of technology.
It's like with stocks. You diversify your portfolio to minimize risk. That's what we're trying to do with the mixed forest too.
People's mindset is changing in favor of electric mobility, and I see huge success in the future as well.
Same eelgrass is one of the most important elements in the ecosystem along the Baltic Sea coast. It produces oxygen and provides habitat for smaller fish.
You're watching DD, India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of the headlines. Typhoon Shanshan makes a landfall in Japan's main southern island of Kyushu. It is the most powerful storm this year and one of the strongest at landfall since 1960. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks to Gujarat CM again after heavy downpour in western state causes flood-like situation. Rescue operations underway in full swing. India's nuclear submarine program reaches a significant milestone. INS Arighat to be commissioned today by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. And 3 terrorists neutralized in a joint operation in North India's Kupwara district. Well, the Israeli military on Thursday eliminated 5 Palestinian fighters who were hiding inside a mosque in Tulkarm, the occupied West Bank. Earlier on Wednesday, the Israeli troops also launched a large-scale operation in West Bank, backed by helicopters, drones and armoured personnel carriers. At least 10 terrorists were killed in the attack. Israel early on Wednesday launched coordinated raids across 4 northern West Bank cities, Jenin, Nablus, Tubas and Tulkarem, where military has focused much of its recent operations. All right, and DD India correspondent Sarah Coates is joining us with more from Tel Aviv. Hi, Sarah. What's the latest happening in the West Bank? If you could just get us some updates.
Ongoing. They're really being seen as the largest in the West Bank since the second Intifada back in 2002, and they are expected to continue for some days. That is according to a number of military sources. Now, we do understand that troops have now actually gone into another part of the West Bank, Jenin, arresting a number of people. And this is really seeing a lot of concern from the United States. The White House coming out to say that Israel should take all feasible measures to protect civilian lives in the West Bank, while we're also hearing from the head of the United Nations. He is calling for an immediate end to this operation. But according to the Israeli military, this is due to a rise in militant activity in the West Bank over the last few months, saying that this is an immediate threat to civilians. But certainly as we go to where there is a lot of tension here in the region, we're not just talking about the West Bank, we're also talking about the northern border. And of course, fighting is continuing in Gaza. Sid.
Okay, Sarah, could you tell us in detail regarding truce and hostage talks in Cairo? Are they moving along?
That is yet to be seen. Really, the only optimism that we are hearing from any of these mediating parties is from the United States. We do, of course, know that a very low-level working delegation of a number of these key mediators remain in Doha, trying to iron out these gaps between the positions of Israel and Hamas. Now, over the last few hours, a number of US officials have said to media that these mediators are expected to float what they're calling a new proposal within days regarding these disputed corridors in Gaza, specifically the Netzarim corridor, which separates the north and the south, and also, of course, the Philadelphia corridor, which is this very narrow strip of land between Gaza and Egypt, and one that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will not be pulling out of, saying that this could then see a resurgence of weapons smuggling from from Egypt rather into Gaza. So certainly not really much movement on these talks, but also over the last couple of hours, a number of these family members of these hostages, 104 people who do remain in the strip, they've actually breached the Gaza border, shouting out to their loved ones who remain inside on loudspeakers that they are doing everything they can to try and get these people out, Sid.
All right, Sarah, thank you so much for your analysis. Meanwhile, after the US, European Union is now seeking to sanction few Israeli ministers over violence against Palestinians. EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said on Thursday that he asked member states about the possible sanctions. The sanctions are over hate messages against the Palestinians and violation of international law. However, he did not name any of the Israeli ministers to whom he was referring.
I initiated the procedures in order to ask the member states if they consider appropriate, including in our list of sanctions, some Israeli ministers has been launching hate messages, unacceptable hate messages against the Palestinians, and proposing things that goes clearly against international law and is an incitation to commit war crimes.
Earlier on Wednesday, Washington announced sanctions on an Israeli settler group over violence against Palestinians. The sanctions were announced on the same day that Israel launched a wide-scale raid on the West Bank, killing Palestinian fighters. And the United Nations World Food Programme has temporarily suspended movement of its employees across the Gaza on Wednesday. The step was taken after bullets struck one of its clearly marked vehicles as it approached an Israeli military checkpoint. A convoy of 2 armoured vehicles received multiple clearances by Israeli authorities to approach the Wadi Gaza Bridge checkpoint on Tuesday evening. Bullets hit one of the vehicles, but no one in it was hurt. The Israeli military did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the incident. It said the vehicle was a few meters from the Israeli checkpoint when it was hit. And Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance on Wednesday said that U.S. should not micromanage Israel-Hamas conflict. Speaking at a rally in De Pere, Wisconsin, he stressed that Israel shall be provided with precision weapons to defeat Hamas.
Hamas is an evil organization. What we should be doing as an ally of Israel is empowering them to wipe Hamas off the face of the earth and get this war over. It's very simple.
And in some other related news, terrorist group Houthi has agreed to allow tugboats and rescue ships to reach the damaged crude oil tanker in Red Sea, and this comes after Houthis attacked the Greek-flagged vessel last week. However, the European Union's mission in the Red Sea said on Wednesday there was no oil spill from tanker. The So-Union tanker is carrying 150,000 tons of crude oil and possess an environmental hazard. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has warned that the vessel seems to be leaking oil. The U.S. election campaign is in full swing, with candidates hitting key battleground states in a bid to woo voters. Kamala Harris is continuing with a bus tour of Georgia alongside a running mate Tim Walz, while Donald Trump's vice presidential pick J.D. Vance has been in America's Midwest hammering home his ticket's messaging on the economy. With a roundup of who's where, here's Benji Hire with more.
Less than 68 days until polls close and the campaigns are moving full steam ahead. Vice President Harris hitting the road again today in Georgia's southern, more conservative, rural counties, home not to her traditional voting base, but a sign that she feels the swing state is very much in play this November. She's joined by Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. They'll hold a rally later and partake in a sit-down interview on American network television in a CNN exclusive airing on Thursday night. That will be their first in-depth, on-the-record conversation with the media since President Joe Biden exited the race for the White House more than 5 weeks ago. Former President Trump has Senator J.D. Vance stumping for him on the campaign trail in both Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, having visited Michigan too, another key state, to hit out at Chinese investment. The two camps, Democrat and Republican, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, have agreed to a presidential debate next month, but they remain at odds over some rules. Benji Hire in Washington, reporting for DD India.
And Britain desires to reset its ties with the European Union, but this move does not mean reversing Brexit. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer talked about closer relationship with EU while addressing the joint press conference in Berlin with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz after both the leaders began talks on a new cooperation agreement between the two nations.
The wider reset with Europe, I'm absolutely clear that we do want a reset. I've been able to repeat that here today, a reset with Europe, a reset with the EU. That does not mean reversing Brexit or re-entering the single market or the customs union. but it does mean a closer relationship on a number of fronts, including the economy, including defence, including exchanges. But we do not have plans for the youth mobility scheme, but we do have plans for a closer relationship between us and the EU as part of that, White said.
From my point of view, it is about creating good relations between the European Union and Great Britain. This can get better every day, and everyone has an interest in this. The historic decision has been made in Great Britain. The British have left the European Union, but we are friends. We live on one continent. From our perspective, and we therefore believe that there is really good reason to do everything we can to ensure that relations between our two countries, but also between the European Union and Great Britain, are as good as possible.
Telegram boss and founder Pavel Durov has been placed under formal investigation in France as part of a probe into organized crime on the messaging app. Durov has not been remanded in custody but placed under judicial supervision and has to pay over $5 million deposit. He was charged on several counts of failing to curb extremist and illegal content on the popular messaging app following a hearing with investigating magistrates in Paris. And President Ranil Wickremesinghes' manifesto for the 2024 presidential election was officially launched in Colombo today. The ceremonial event of unveiling the manifesto, titled 5 Years of Winning the Country with Ranil, was held at the Taj Samudra Hotel in Colombo with the arrival of President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the venue. This document outlines 5 principal components: Theravada trade economy, Operation Beyond 2025, Make a Radiant Society, Win the Motherland, and Unite Sri Lanka. Bangladesh on Thursday signed the UN instrument titled the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearances. Professor Mohammad Yunus, Chief Advisor of Interim Government, signed the convention at the weekly meeting of the Council of Advisors. He declared that the government accedes to the convention and undertakes faithfully to perform and carry out the stipulations therein contained. The signing comes a day ahead of the International Day of the Victims of Enforced Disappearances. As per media report, the interim government established a commission to investigate cases of enforced disappearances earlier this week. Well, a Hong Kong court on Thursday found 2 editors of the now defunct Stan News media outlet guilty of conspiring to publish seditious articles in a case that has drawn international scrutiny amid a security crackdown in China-ruled city. The 2 editors, Chung Pui Kuen and Patrick Lam, could face maximum jail term of 2 years. This is the first sedition conviction against any journalist or editor since Hong Kong's handover from Britain to China in 1997. Stan News, once Hong Kong's leading online media with a mix of critical reportage and commentary, was raided by police in December 2021 and had its assets frozen, leading to its closure a few days later. Chung and Lam had pleaded not guilty, with only Chung present in court on Thursday for the verdict. Lam's absence wasn't explained. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is in China in a bid to stabilize relations between their nations. After holding several top-level meetings, Sullivan met Chinese President Xi Jinping today, during which Xi stressed that both sides should become a source of stability for world peace and a propeller for common development. Xi said, and I quote, "China's commitment to the stable, sound and sustainable development of China-US relations remains unchanged." On his part, Sullivan said President Biden looks forward to engaging with Xi in the coming weeks. He said that Biden is committed to manage this relationship and make sure competition does not lead to conflict. All right, and let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Earthquake of magnitude 6.1 struck off the coast of El Salvador on Thursday with no immediate reports of any deaths or damages. The earthquake was centered in the Pacific Ocean, 60 kilometers south-southwest of the Salvadorian town of La Libertad, at a depth of 33.9 kilometers. World marks the International Day Against Nuclear Tests. Across nearly 8 decades, more than 2,000 nuclear tests were conducted at more than 60 sites around the world, with scenario getting grim. UN Secretary Generals in a message said that the world must speak with one voice to end this practice once and for all. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty is the only prohibition on all nuclear testing and an essential verifiable security tool, but it is not yet in force. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Unified Payments Interface or UPI has come in for praise from the United States. India celebrates National Sports Day today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi pays tribute to Wizard of Hockey, Major Dhyan Chand, reaffirms support to sports. In US Open, Djokovic advances after Dere retires, while Sabalenka hammers Bronzetti to reach the third round.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Governor of Reserve Bank of India, Shaktikanta Das, has called for making Unified Payment Interface (UPI) and RuPay truly global and strengthen cross-border payment systems. Speaking at Global FinTech Fest in Mumbai, Das said the Reserve Bank of India is focusing on making the UPI and RuPay truly global based on encouraging response received from several jurisdictions. Progress has already been made in countries like Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Singapore, the UAE, Mauritius, Namibia, Peru, France, and a few others. Das also mentioned that self-regulatory organizations for the fintech sector are a preferred approach to balance innovation and prudent regulation. The RBI has decided to recognize an Fintech Association for Consumer Empowerment as an SRO.
Based on encouraging response we have received from several jurisdictions, we are now focusing on making the UPI and the RuPay truly global. The deployment of UPI-like infrastructure in foreign jurisdictions, facilitating QR code-based payment acceptance through UPI apps at international merchant locations, and interlinking UPI with fast payment systems in other countries for cross-border remittances are on top of our agenda. Notable progress in this direction has already been made with countries like Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Singapore, the UAE, Mauritius, Namibia, Peru, France, and a few other countries.
India's Unified Payments Interface has come in for praise from the United States. In fact, Christopher Waller, member Federal Reserve Board of Governors of the United States, praised it recently, saying that UPI has brought in formalization to business sector by having small merchants connect to the payment system.
I've learned a lot about various payment systems around the world, particularly UPI here in India. So it was a pleasure to spend 3 to 4 hours at in the NPCI and learn a lot about UPI, how it was built, how it was done, what are the objectives, and the success that it's had, particularly in bringing more formalization to the business sector by having lots of small merchants suddenly connected to this larger payment system. So it's been a pleasure, and then I love hearing how fintechs are going to improve, expand, and deliver greater service to everybody.
The Reserve Bank of India plans to launch the Unified Lending Interface at national level to transform India's lending sector. The ULI was launched as a pilot project by the RBI in 2023. ULI is a digital platform that is expected to make the lending process easy. It would enable frictionless credit while delivering banking services to farmers and MSME borrowers. ULI will be part of new trinity of JAM, that is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile, UPI and ULI, representing a significant advancement in India's digital infrastructure. The integration of these systems aims to cater to the large unmet demand for credit and enhance financial inclusion. All right, time now for sports, and for that I have with me in studio Abhishek Mahajan. Hello Abhishek, a very good afternoon to you. Tell us what is happening in the world of sport.
Good afternoon and happy Sports Day to you. In fact, that is our first story also.
Indeed.
India is celebrating its National Sports Day in honor of Major Dhyan Chand, the legendary hockey player whose unparalleled skills made him a global icon in the sport. Also known as Hockey Wizard, his legacy extends far beyond India, earning him admiration and respect across the world for his extraordinary techniques on the field. Here's a tribute to the global icon.
भाग्य की बात है कि हमारे स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं मेजर ध्यानचंद।
फॉरेन कंट्री जो हॉकी सीखी है इसमें शक नहीं है कि हिंदुस्तान के जरिए सीखी है। लोगों ने इतनी ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस कर ली कि हम अब हिंदुस्तान का मुकाबला करने लगे। मैंने देखा है रिसेंटली यूरोप कंट्री के खेलों को कि वो हमारे मुकाबले में थोड़ा ड्रिबलिंग करने लगे हैं बजाय मारने के। अब ड्रिबलिंग ही शुरू कर दिया।
जी हाँ, काफी इम्प्रूवमेंट्स हैं उनके।
It's the army, British Army, for entertainment and recreation. They used to play the sport of hockey. That's how modern hockey came into India. So somehow Dhyan Chand got into that hockey team. When he played, he was supposed to play against his bosses, colonels and all other people. So his first aim is not to hurt them.
ध्यानचंद के बारे में कहा जाता था कि वो बिल्कुल चेस की तरह हॉकी के मैदान को देखते थे। उनको पता होता था कि उनका खिलाड़ी किस जगह पर है और वो ब्लाइंड फोल्ड, अगर आप उनकी आंखों पर पट्टी भी बांध दें तो वो एक ऐसी जगह पास करते थे जहां खिलाड़ी मौजूद, बिल्कुल पिन पॉइंट उसी जगह पर गेंद रुकती थी। तो ये प्रेसिशन था।
When he played in America, they thought probably there was some magic in his hockey stick, and they even changed his sticks.
What Dhyan Chand was playing in his times was nothing but what we are playing nowadays.
Magic man, like Don Bradman in cricket, hockey was in his blood, hockey was in his thought, hockey was in his action.
People say he had some electric power. No, he visualized you should not hold the ball.
Much before Sachin Tendulkar, Roger Federer, Michael Jordan, Senna, Muhammad Ali, Pele, there was Dhyan Chand.
And Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports Mansukh Mandavia paid a floral tribute to hockey legend Major Dhyan Chand on the occasion of National Sports Day. Dhyan Chand represented the Indian hockey team from 1925 to 1949, scoring over 1,500 goals in 185 matches. The hockey legend, who won 3 Olympic golds in his career, was felicitated with a Padma Bhushan in 1956, and his birth anniversary on 29th August is celebrated as the National Sports Day. Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia, while paying a floral tribute to Major Dhyan Chand in New Delhi, emphasized the importance of staying fit and healthy for the development of the nation. And on the occasion of National Sports Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed his heartfelt tribute to legendary hockey player Major Dhyan Chand. This is what he posted on X. Greetings on National Sports Day. Today we pay homage to Major Dhyan Chand ji. It is an occasion to compliment all those passionate about sports and those who have played for India. Our government is committed to supporting sports and ensuring more youth are able to play and shine, unquote. And the much-awaited Paris Paralympic Summer Games finally kicked off on Wednesday night after the success of Paris Olympic Games. The 18th edition of these games will be played till 8 September. India's javelin thrower Sumit Antil and shot putter Bhagyashree Jadhav were flag bearers of the Indian contingent for the ceremony. In this are competing in 12 sporting disciplines, and this is the largest contingent India has ever sent to the Paralympic Games. And Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended his heartfelt wishes to the para-athletes participating in Paris Paralympics. He said, and I quote him, 140 crore Indians wish our contingent at the Paris Paralympics 2024 the very best. The courage and determination of every athlete are a source of inspiration for the entire nation. Everyone is rooting for their success. #Cheer for Bharat. Shifting focus to US Open now, Novak Djokovic advances to the third round of the US Open after a grueling match ended early due to Laslo Djere retiring with an injury. Defending champion Djokovic was leading 6-4, 6-4, 2-0 when an abdominal issue forced Laslo Djere to retire from the match. Although the match went little more than 2 sets, the duo had to spend 2 hours on the court in extreme heat and humidity. And in women's singles, Aryna Sabalenka showcased her US Open title potential with a commanding second-round victory over Lucia Bronzetti, drawing inspiration from a young fan in the crowd. Second seed, Sabalenka breezed past Bronzetti with a 6-3, 6-1 win in just 61 minutes. Inspired by a young fan dressed as her mini-me in the crowd, Sabalenka broke Bronzetti's serve at key moments and finished the match with 24 winners. All right, that's all we have in sports stories. Back to you, Siddharth.
Thank you so much for all those updates, Abhishek. All right. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code which is on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.